Okay, so to get to the preferences, we're going to go up to the live menu and down to preferences. You can also use command comma to get to the preferences. So in our preferences window, we have a few different tabs on the left. Now for the purposes of recording, I'm just going to focus on the audio and MIDI tabs for the moment. So let's go to the audio tab. These are the things we really care about right now, right here. What is our input device and what is our output device? So for me, I have input device being Quartet because that's what my microphone is plugged into. Quartet is the name of my audio interface. If you don't have an audio interface here, you might see something like internal microphone or something like that, whatever your microphone is coming into. We're going to get a lot more detailed about recording in a later section. So in that section, we'll talk about what an audio interface is and if you need one at all. But for now, just know that I have my microphone, this microphone, plugged into an audio interface called an Apogee Quartet. So I want my input device to be that. That's essentially my microphone. Now my output device is going to be your speakers, whatever is controlling your speakers. It might be internal speakers or something like that. In my case, I have a weird setup here because this Telestream audio capture, this is actually my screen recording software. So in a normal case, here I would select Quartet because that's also controlling my speakers. But I might say Mac Pro speakers, SoundBridge. These are different displays I have connected to my computer. I have a lot of displays. So whatever you're listening to is what you want to have here. Okay, now for recording, we're going to visit this input config button, and this is going to tell me what I can record from in my device. So my particular audio interface has two inputs, so I'm going to turn on 1 and 2 as both mono and stereo. That means I can record in 3 ways. I can record onto channel 1, I can record onto channel 2, or I can record onto channel 1 and 2 at the same time, which we would call a stereo track. Now if you have more inputs, you can turn on more by clicking them here. Most of us, unless you have a fancy interface, are just going to have 1 and 2. Okay, so then you click OK. I'm going to click cancel. Now here you can set some of your recording settings. I like to record at 48,000. You might also see here 44,100. In my case, this is being set by my audio interface, so I don't think I can change it. And this stuff with latency has to do with if you're, let's say you're playing your guitar into live, and you play a note and then you hear it come through live like a millisecond later. Well, not a millisecond, it'd be like 5 milliseconds later, and that's driving you nuts. These are the settings you want to play with to get rid of that latency. The latency is a delay. You can improve it, but in my case right now, I'm not listening back to live, so I don't need to worry about it too much. We'll deal with latency more once we get into actual recording instruments in a later section of this class. For now, I'm just going to make sure my input and output is right. Now also while I'm here, I'm going to look over at my MIDI settings. So I'm going to go to this tab, Link, Tempo, and MIDI. And what I want to do here is, mostly I want to look down at my MIDI ports and make sure my main keyboard is plugged in. Now my keyboard is called Seaboard Rise 49. So it's right there. So I see in Seaboard Rise 49. Now we have to select what can it do. Track means it's going to be able to play notes onto a track. So we want it to do that. Sync means it's going to be able to synchronize itself with live. My keyboard doesn't have any kind of internal clock or internal tempo, so it doesn't really need to sync back and forth with anything in live. Most keyboards don't. Remote means that it's going to give you the ability to play, stop, pause, record on live. it means that you can control these parameters up here from your keyboard, right? I don't need to do that, but a lot of keyboards do have the ability to start, stop, record, things like that right from the keyboard, and that's a cool trick. But it's not going to work unless you turn it on here. Okay? MPE is that new real high-end MIDI stuff, and my Seaboard Rise does support MPE. Not all keyboards do. In fact, most don't. But this particular keyboard does. So I'm going to turn that on to make sure I'm taking advantage of that stuff. So, long story short, make sure you have track selected. These other things, maybe, maybe not. If it supports MPE, turn on MPE. That's really all I need to do in my preferences for now. We'll look more at preferences stuff later. But for the purposes of recording, I'm good to go.